Plaintiff Ashley Schmidt says after she moved in with the defendant, her son abused Ashley's son and even split his head open. Ashley's suing her former roommate for property, bills, and emotional distress. Defendant Leanne Nelson insists her son is not a violent child because he listens to Bob Marley. Leanne claims Ashley is a neglectful mother who gave her own son alcohol, and she's countersuing for loans and emotional distress.
Start with you.
Okay, I met Leanne about 8 years ago. We went to high school together. We hit it off right away. We lost contact and then came back in contact.
How old are you now?
I'll be 22 on Thursday.
Okay.
So we were both single mothers and trying to get out of our parents' house, trying to kind of make it on our own, but, didn't have the finances to exactly make it completely on our own. So we started talking. Our children are only about 6-7 months apart. So I thought that was great. We could raise them together. I thought she'd be, a great mature single mom to live with. We could have a great household. The boys could grow up like brothers and, we could do it together. It turned out to be awful.
Wow.
Because she, instead of being a mature adult, wanted to party, smoke marijuana, be up drinking with her friends and brother until 3-4 o'clock in the morning when I worked at 6. She didn't watch her son very well. Her son started beating up my son. Her son's about twice the size of my child.
How old are the sons?
My son was about 1.5 years and her son was 2 years old. Okay. I was,
She would see them fight, you think?
Well, we both would see them fight. But it was started.
You didn't watch her son either.
Exactly.
Well, no, I would pull my son away and I would, say this is not okay.
And what would she do?
She would just let them fight.
Well, how would they continue fighting if you were pulling them away?
Well, it was a daily thing as far as her son would be. She brought her son in with no toys. So it was all my son's toys.
All right.
He would take my son's toys away. Like the first day, he hit my son in the head with a block, left a huge knot, a black and blue mark, and split my son's head open. So later on, my son bit her son.
Now,
and
who was the most irresponsible? I can't tell because if either one of those children had a toy block that could split somebody's head open.
Exactly. It wasn't like
both of you are irresponsible.
It wasn't like split open. It was
if
like
you
hit him in the head with the corner of the block. So that's what caused the damage.
Now you're minimizing it. At first he cracked his head open.
Thank you.
Gave him a concussion.
See the brain.
You can see the brain and all that. Now it wasn't anything when I tell you to make sense of what you told me.
It split the skin, but it didn't cause.
All right.
My son would cower in fear. He would constantly shove him down anytime he came near. My son had a favorite ride-on fire truck. My son was not allowed to play with it when her son was there because her son would push my son off of it and ride it, and then he'd put his stuffed Wolfie in it. My son would go like this when her son came near. For me, that's not okay for my 1.5 to act that way. My son, 3 weeks after her son moved in, my son's daycare called me and said, your son's biting when a child comes near his toy that he's playing with. When I brought it to her attention, she says, well, your son bites my son. I was like, my son's biting in defense. Your son pushes him for no reason, hits him for no reason, takes his toys away, and throws his toys at him. And those are my son's toys.
Before we get to the bills that you're suing her about and the property, let me hear from you on the background.
All right, I would just like to start with my son is not a violent child at all. He listens to Bob Marley and stuff like that. He doesn't watch TV. Okay, maybe that wasn't the best example, but my son is a calm child. He doesn't hit, he doesn't bite. Her son was biting way before we even moved in, and she told me she had a problem with that at daycare.
I broke that habit of my son. He was not biting when I put him in daycare. I put him in daycare in May. No. I had already broke him of that habit.
What is the relevance of your son listening to Bob Marley?
It's a calming music.
That she's not a good mom and lets her listen to that?
Yes.
What?
It calms him.
I know this isn't the case, but is that reggae music and the calmness thereof accompanied by weed smoking?
Yes, it is.
Which I don't do.
Yes, it is. You would go out on the porch every night and smoke weed.
Rastafarians,
yes,
which Bob Marley was,
yes,
and many people who love reggae music, not all, but many people who do, and most Rastafarians, they have weed to accompany.
But I'm a part of the not all.
Because there's a heavy beat to reggae. So it doesn't necessarily, when you get a heavy beat, that ain't quite calming. That's not calming. That's kind of, but it's when you
But I don't
smoke that weed.
Yep,
And then you listen to it. Then you sit back. So which one does your son do when he listens to Bob Marley? Does he hop around?
Yes.
Or does he sit back?
He hops around. But my son's not violent. He's never been violent.
Can we get to the bills you're suing her about, ma'am, and the property?
Yes. I have the bills here. When we first moved in, our agreement was going to be that she was going to pay for half of the electric bill, and I was going to pay the other half, and then I was going to pay the cable bill, and she was going to pay the food, which I ended up paying the food bill because she got the munchies from smoking pot out on the porch every night. Every night for the first 2 months, she would go out on the porch and smoke pot out on the porch every night. And then they'd come home. She would only buy junk food with her food stamps. And then so my mother had to help me with bills because I was putting in $200 to $400 worth of groceries a month because they come in at night when I'm sleeping.
With the munchies, dog.
With the munchies. I can't tell you how many times she had people over every night. Exactly. I come into my freezer the next night for dinner and I go, where the hell the food go?
It could have been your boyfriend that was there every night.
My boyfriend ate when he was at his house. He didn't eat my food because he knew better.
I know this isn't the case, but is that reggae music and the calmness thereof accompanied by weed smoking?
Yes, it is.
Which I don't do.
Defendant Leanne Nelson is being sued by her former roommate, who claims Leanne neglected her young son so she could smoke pot and party with her friends.
What was the agreement you say on the bills? It was what, 50-50?
It was 50-50.
All right, and what did she fail to pay?
She didn't pay me anything.
And lived there how many months?
3 months.
All right, you have those bills
I
there?
have these bills.
And they add up to how much?
I believe it's 112 something.
Okay.
I also have a notice on there the last month. Why we put it in my name is because I have perfect credit and I didn't have to pay a deposit for anything. Now the last page there, they're threatening to put it on my credit because I haven't had the money to pay off the last bill.
And your property that you're suing about?
I loaned her 2 pairs of pants, which I see she brought with her. She said she was going to give them back to me. When I moved out, they were dirty. And when I asked her about it, she just,
Okay.
I'll get
And
to
the
it when I get
emotional
to it.
distress is for what?
It's because of the fact, in the end of November, I ended up getting diagnosed with cervical cancer.
Sorry to hear that.
I went in for a procedure. They removed part of my cervix. 2 days after that, I almost died because I got what's called C. diff. It took 8 bags of IV just to hydrate me enough for them to be able to draw blood, to do blood work and make sure nothing was more severe wrong with me. I had to come home from being on my deathbed and clean the house because she never cleaned the house. And not to mention, right before I went to the hospital, I cleaned the house.
That's the only emotional distress?
Also with my son, they threatened to kick my son out of daycare. My son, my son's my world. I have a tattoo on my arm of his hand. So to see my son react like that because he's getting beat up and his dad threatening to take him away from me because he's violently acting out, which he'd never done before to his other aunt. But now suddenly he went back into it.
Let me hear from you.
I never refused. I've never refused to pay. She never showed me the bill.
All right.
They were laying around the house. Oh my God, they were laying around the house, right on top of the bookshelf. How hard is it? The bookshelf ain't that much taller than you.
Come out to about 113.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. And your counterclaim for unpaid loans. How so?
When we had gotten a job at a gentleman's club for 2 days, I couldn't stand it. We were like cocktails, basically. I couldn't stand it. I quit. She wanted to stay on.
I did
I
not.
was
I
her
quit
ride.
before you did.
But I bought a corset top, which didn't fit me. So she said, can I use it and have it? I said, fine, just pay me for it. And I bought some booty shorts for her as well. Would you like to see them? They were like this. Yeah, it's very uncomfortable attire.
Shorts, aren't those underwear?
Pretty much, yeah.
It's
Very uncomfortable.
It's your work uniform for the
Okay.
gentleman.
Yeah.
All right.
But so I bought them for her, and she agreed to pay back, and
How
she
much?
never did. Altogether, it was $22. Not very expensive.
Ma'am, did
and-
you pay her $22?
No, as far as the booty short, the corset goes, I returned that to her.
Which
She
I
has
didn't want
the
because she
corset.
used it
You
for her
used it
boyfriend.
before I used it, so
Who
what's
was
the difference?
never
We're
gone.
talking about the shorts.
The shorts, I told her that because she never paid me back for the move truck, I paid $65, $79 for a move truck. She never paid me
Did
back.
you
I
ever
sent her
agree
a
to
text.
pay for the shorts?
No.
Yes, she did.
Emotional distress is for what?
Okay, her boyfriend was always there. One night, when she wanted to spend time with her boyfriend, she gave her son 2 capfuls of alcohol plus baby Tylenol to get him to go to sleep.
Oh, no.
And then she therefore let him sit in his crib and cry for 2 hours while she was in her bedroom with her boyfriend. She woke me and my son up on countless occasions for her having sex with her boyfriend, constantly fighting with her boyfriend. It was all about her boyfriend. She never cleaned the house. And then she comes up with this idea to stop me and my son using her stuff. She wouldn't let us sit on the couch. She wouldn't let my son watch TV, wouldn't let us use dishes. I got dishes. I didn't care about watching TV. I don't watch TV.
All right. Give her clothes so we can get that property out of the way. Give it to her, Doyle, please.
Put those in the middle.
I'll let her.
Those aren't mine. No. Those
Let
ones
her
are
keep
not
the
mine.
shorts.
Yeah.
Let her keep the shorts. Yeah, even though you bought them for her.
No, these ones are mine. She has the other pair.
Oh.
I wouldn't want those back. I wouldn't even touch those. I'd have to get like hazmat team there.
All
They
right.
wouldn't even fit you.
And
But-
you've given her property. Now I'm going to grant $113 for your unpaid bills, but I am going to grant her $22. How much is that? $91. And let me get you all out of here. I don't mind hearing small cases because, as I always say, it keeps people from fighting each other. So I don't care if you bring in a case that's $100 or what have you, because I'd rather you do that than to be out there fighting and stabbing over $100. Judgment for the plaintiff. Have a good day.
It's done. I hope I don't ever have to deal with her again.
I feel the same way.